Hello everyone, it's Lupe from Bruno Planning Co. I know it's been quite a while since the last time I filmed a video. I think it was maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and I have gotten a lot of comments and DMs from people who have been asking when I was going to come back, if I was going to be reviewing any new products, and so I just wanted to make this video in response to those messages as well, and anyone who was curious as to why I haven't been here. And I do have my planners that I've been using for the last 8 months that I want to kind of walk you through and just give you an idea of where I stand in terms of planning, because it has definitely changed in the last 8 or 9 months. And the reason why it's been so long is because of this little guy right here. That's my belly, by the way. That is our little boy. He is due in June, so it's very, very close. I am 34 weeks, so I cannot believe that it's been that long already and that we're getting so close to meeting him. This is our first, so everything is completely new to us. Everything that's going on with me is completely new, so it's definitely been something that has kind of influenced everything that I've been able to do in the last 8 or 9 months. So I do want to just again go through how my planning has changed through the last few months, just because I haven't updated. I know that I did some Instagram posts that reflected some of my new planning styles, but everything has kind of really changed. The last 8 months have been a roller coaster, and so throughout that time I have gone from not planning at all to planning a ton of things that we have to do around the house for the baby, and just really kind of changed throughout the months. So I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning. So in the beginning, I think the very last few videos that I uploaded in terms of plan with me's was in the A5 ring agenda from Erin Condren. And I got this during the launch season last year, and it was really working out for me. It worked out for me during the summer. I think I was able to start planning since July. Yeah, see, I planned July. Everything was going really well. I'm pretty sure I did a few plan with me's here with these pages. And then when I started to school, so around August, this is when things got a little bit different. So I was starting at a new district, which meant I had a lot of adjusting, a lot of work to get through. So planning was definitely something that I needed to get right. So I had a ton of things to do, and it looks like August was pretty good. I used it for the most part, and I think I flagged when I stopped using it, which was around September. So that makes sense because we had already started school. I think school started, when was the first day? The 18th of August. So I love the agenda. It worked so well. I love the A5 size and the daily duo. That's what I was using. But the problem that I did encounter being at school, being at my desk, which is kind of a small teacher desk, I couldn't have this open the way that I wanted to. And of course, because it is in the ring agenda, there isn't really a good way to kind of fold it over. I guess you can kind of put it like this, but I also liked my planners on like the planner stand. And I think the planner stand that I had just couldn't accommodate it well like I'd wanted to. So because of that, and I also believe I thought it was a little bit bulky to kind of take around with me, because unlike, I mean, the pages are right here. This is as much as I used, but then you have the whole folio that you have to take with you. So I think I just found it a little bit too bulky. I wanted something that I can actually turn on itself. So that's when I went into the A5. And so again, I think I used this until September. And that by that time I was still doing videos and things like that. So then in September, I went ahead and transitioned to the A5 Daily Duo, which is exactly the same thing, except it's not the A5 ring agenda. And so I started with September, same thing, right? I had my kind of similar planning style. It worked really well up until it looks like October. And I think, let's see, October 2nd. Well, I did plan some few days afterward. And this is around the time that I found out I was pregnant. It was October. I can't remember the exact date, but I know it was in October. And it looks like I started kind of sporadically planning, not really planning too much. Well, at least in October there. It looks like I kind of stopped in a few days. Not a lot of stickers, not a lot of decorating. And I think I go into November a little bit. But what ended up happening around this time, let's see. I even used a sticky note, which that was kind of my planning style after a little bit. I think this is the when I stopped in this planner was November 8th. And the reason why I became so sporadic and why I decided to take a break from not only YouTube, but Instagram and my sticker shop as well, was because when we found out I was pregnant, it was definitely very exciting, but it was a different experience this time. And by what I mean this time is that I did have a miscarriage earlier in the year. If you want to skip this part of the conversation, by the way, the timestamp will be right here, and you can just skip through this part of the conversation. As I was saying, I had a miscarriage earlier in the year, and after that happened, it was very difficult itself to kind of deal with and go through that process. But afterward, we kind of struggled to conceive, and I had already had it in my mind that maybe it wasn't going to be, possible or as easy as I had imagined it to be. And so when it did happen around October, again, going through the miscarriage and trying to conceive journey just kind of changed my reaction and my emotions to finding out that I was pregnant again. And so, definitely excited, definitely, happy about it, but it was more cautious. There was a lot of anxiety, so much anxiety, because I remember going to my first OB appointment. I was sometime in November, and I was so incredibly stressed that we weren't going to find a heartbeat. And so it was a really, really rough few months. I don't know. I'm trying to think back when I actually felt like I didn't have that anxiety anymore. And I honestly think it was until the second trimester, because that's when, the rates after 12 weeks is supposedly when the rates of miscarriage are very, very low. And I think once I hit that 12-week mark or 13-week mark, I think that's when I finally was able to kind of enjoy it and feel a little bit more of how I felt the first time. So that whole time, October and November-ish, was just filled with a lot of anxiety and stress. I was also stressed about work because, getting into the school year, I had a whole new curriculum, a whole new district. So it's kind of a lot. And I think I made the right decision in just kind of focusing on one thing, which is just feeling okay and not being overly worked with, YouTube and making all the videos and working on my shop. So that's when I decided to take that break. And along with all of that was happening in my mind, the first trimester symptoms were starting to really take a hold of me. So I mainly had two. So I had a lot of nausea, which was bearable. It was not great. Every time I would eat, I would get nauseous. So it wasn't just like one time in the day or in the morning or, whatever. It was definitely all day long, mostly after I ate. But again, kind of bearable. I could figure out what to do to not feel so nauseous. But the one thing that really got to me was the exhaustion. So even though I had already kind of closed everything, I wasn't really doing anything outside of just school, I don't think I could have even done anything. I remember feeling just absolutely drained, so much so that I don't know how I got through the day at school, but somehow I did. But as soon as I came home, I showered and I just laid on the couch and wanted to go to sleep. I was able to eat something, of course, kind of, because I was nauseous as well. But as soon as dinner was over, I just wanted to sleep. And most days I did that. Most days I just kind of slept after dinner on the couch. And then whenever my husband wanted to go to bed, we'd go to bed. And that's it. Those are my days for weeks, which is why I have a very, very sparse kind of planning throughout November. So it looks like November 8th was my last one, like I said. And then after that, I just used sticky notes. I used these notepads from Erin Condren as well that I really love, just for the absolute necessary things that I had to do, which usually were, school related or something like that. There's absolutely no way that I could plan a whole day kind of like I used to, with stickers and decorating and just like even writing all this stuff down. There's no way I could have done that during those days. I absolutely had no energy. To-do lists and sticky notes were my thing. And during that time, they worked really well until I realized that to-do lists are great, but my brain doesn't sometimes work like that. I need some sort of categories. So I used sticky notes and all that until I kind of got frustrated with that whole method. And so I was wondering, what could I do? I don't want to plan my whole days like I used to. I don't have time to decorate. I don't have, honestly, just the energy to do it, because all I wanted to do was sleep. So I was thinking of, what is the next best thing to just writing a to-do list on a sticky note. And so I went back to like bullet journaling, which is what I had done before I discovered Erin Condren, which is basically like a list of to-dos, but it is a little bit more organized. So what I did is I used another Erin Condren planner. So this is the third one apparently in the last 8 months. And this is the monthly planner. So what I ended up doing is, let me go to November. I kind of skipped a few things. So here's here's December. So November, and this is when we found out we were having a boy. So I like to mark that down. So this is December. So here's what I mean by like bullet journaling. If you're unfamiliar with the monthly layout from Erin Condren, so you have a month, you have the month of use, and then you have your dashboard, and then you have notes pages. And I think I used this in November as well. So let me go back to November. Here's November. So I figured that I could use the notes pages as kind of like space for my bullet journaling. So much more organized than sticky notes and to-do lists, because I did split it up by day. I wrote down the most essential items that I had to do that day. And then I can keep going day to day, and then also migrating tasks. So if I didn't finish something, I can see previously that I didn't do that. And so I have to do it the next day. And again, it's it's just more of like an organized system than, you know, random sticky notes on my laptop, which is what I was doing when I was absolutely exhausted. This is when I had a little bit more energy, just a little bit more, and I was trying to just figure out my life a little bit because it was getting a little overwhelming with my system. So this worked out for me really, really well for November, and December is when I also used it. Yeah. So I did use it, and I think I fit like a week or so on each page. I didn't do it for a very long time, but for these 2 months, it worked really well for me. And then I also used one page for my winter break, and I just kind of wrote down, I think I put this on Instagram too, so if you want to see another picture of this, I did it there. But I had 2 weeks off for winter break because I'm a teacher, and so I just kind of wrote down all of my to-dos for those 2 weeks. And I really like that the notes pages just give you so much flexibility in how you want to plan. So this is a great way if you're trying to keep it super minimalistic. If you want a planner with just to-dos, this is kind of a great one that I would suggest, because you still have your monthly view, you still have a dashboard for some important dates that you can write down, and then the rest of the pages for whatever kind of spreads you want. And one other thing that I used during this time, by the way, that I want to mention is this, and I think I've mentioned this before. I think I used this as well in October-ish or before that, but this is the Erin Condren, I'm trying to think of the name. Folio, maybe Folio. I'm going to link all of these things in the description, so you can definitely look out for that in there, just because I'm blanking on the name apparently. But this is a weekly view, and I think this one came with one of those surprise boxes, but it's sold now on the website. So I think there's 2 different options. There's this pretty one with the mid-century circles, and I believe there's a focused one as well. And so I really liked using this for a weekly view of my tasks. And I think even when I wasn't planning like on pages or on a planner like this, I think I just used this as well along with my sticky notes and stuff. So this was just like one other thing that I could use really quickly to jot down what I had to do during the week, with it taking less time and less energy to kind of plan. But I love this notepad so much. And there's so many different ones, but I really like that this one you can go ahead and stand up. Here, let me show you. So it's kind of like a trifold here, and then it just stands up on your desk. So this was really nice to have on my teacher desk, and it's so slim as well. Super, super slim, so it doesn't take up any space in your bag. And my teacher bag is always filled, so it's nice to have something super thin. So I'll have to see how I use this year. I haven't used it in a while. I might have to go back and use this year. All right, so in the monthly planner, I think I did do a little bit of January. Nope, I didn't do any of January. Okay, I just apparently filled out the monthly, and then that's it. So this is when I started feeling a lot better. I had a lot more energy. I was definitely into the second trimester already. Nausea was going away, but the most important thing is that exhaustion went away, and I finally felt like myself, like a little bit more normal. Like I can definitely do more during the day. And I think this is around the time I opened my shop back up, or it was around December. I can't remember the exact date, but that was up and running, had more energy, which was great. But I was still looking for that kind of more simplistic planning, kind of like with my bullet journaling, where I just had a list of things that I had to do. It just seemed like that's what was working for me. And I loved using the monthly planner, and I probably would have continued to use it, but I did want something a little bit more structured where I could see my entire week all at once, and I didn't have to kind of create the days as I was going. So I completely transitioned from Erin Condren and went with the Hobonichi. So I've used the Hobonichi Cousin before, which I think I've shared on the channel before. It's a much thinner planner. It's weekly. I used it for my shop just to write down some really quick to-dos for the shop when I started it. And so I already had some familiarity with these products, but I definitely wanted to try one that was a little bit bigger, that had, again, a little bit more of a simplistic view, something that I could do again very quickly. I'd opened up my shop again, so I was busier. School was still busy because, again, everything was new to me, so I still didn't have a ton of time to plan. So I went with this one, and this is the Hobonichi Cousin. I chose to do the 2 books. So this is, if you notice, it's pretty thin. So there's 2 books for this one. This one's January to June, and then I have the June to December one as well. But they do sell one for the entire year, so I just decided to go with 2 because I didn't want it to be too bulky. So if you're not familiar with the Hobonichi, one of the distinctive features of it is the paper. So the best way that I can describe it, which I don't know if this is going to be weird, but It's very, very thin paper. It's kind of like what I imagine, or what I would describe as Bible paper. You know, Bibles have a lot of pages, and so the paper has to be thin in order to kind of have a somewhat smaller book. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's not as thin as I think some Bibles that I've felt before, but this is definitely a very, very thin paper, which is completely opposite to Erin Condren, of course, right? We love the Erin Condren paper because it's nice and thick, nothing bleeds, you can't see through it. I definitely love the paper. And so going to this one, I mean, I've used this, like I said, this planner before, so I've used the paper before. I wanted to give it a try again because, again, I needed something a little bit more organized. And one other thing about the Cousin is that you have actually a monthly view, a weekly view, and a daily view. So all of those pages are in this little tiny book, monthly, weekly, and daily views. So I found that really great because I wanted to do daily journaling, which I did end up doing for a little while, and I'll show you here in a second. So this is what my weeklies tended to look like. And again, I think I shared some of these on Instagram. So here's why I kind of chose this planner. I loved the space of it. So if you notice, there are so many lines where I can write all of my to-dos. So it's still like a huge to-do list, but I split it up so I can have my school to-dos and my home to-dos and my shop to-dos, and it all fits on one column for each day, as well as having an entire column on the left side where I can go ahead and plan out my entire week. So everything that's important that I need to get done, that's where I would plan it for the week. And then I would make sure to get that done throughout the week as well. And so again, you have Monday through Sunday, which is great for teachers because my week does start on a Monday, and it just worked for me. It was not time consuming to plan. I got everything that I needed written down really quickly. So this is what my typical weeks look like. So this is how I kind of planned them out. I was able to use my stickers, which is fantastic. They fit perfectly. I was able to add some color, but again, it didn't take me a really long time to plan. It was really quick. I just planned it daily. So I planned all of my to-dos on a Sunday. So all of this was filled out on Sunday, and then I would go day to day and plan the day before. And it worked really well. I mean, I got a lot of stuff done. I felt like I was much more organized. I was back to kind of decorating, which was really nice because I had stopped for so long. And when I didn't get to plan, so there's a lot of kind of empty days because unfortunately, like at the beginning of the year and even before that, I think we were dealing with like on and off family, like medical issues, and we're still kind of going through that right now. So it's been, you know, quite a year. And so there's definitely, you know, like a lot of blank spaces here, but I didn't feel, you know, overwhelmed to plan. If I had a blank space, it felt better to me to have blank space on a weekly view, honestly, than when I was planning like my daily. I feel like the daily planning was a lot of pressure. The times where things were stressful or, you know, I was exhausted, the daily planning really kind of made it worse, made kind of the stress and the anxiety a little bit worse. Whereas here, you know, again, it's kind of like a glorified to-do list, right? And if I didn't get to do a to-do list for that day, it was fine. Like I could just move on, versus with the daily, for some reason, it made me cringe to like leave those pages blank. I don't know what it is. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but this just kind of provided me with some more organization and just less anxiety overall. And you'll see how kind of things change. Like I was definitely decorating a lot in the beginning of this year, and then, you know, things got, again, kind of stressful. So I needed to just accommodate to that, and that's completely okay. And so planning has to take a little bit less time. And as you can see, I just started kind of using my highlighters just to separate some of the to-dos. And then sometimes I wouldn't use them. And then here is this week. And the monthly views for this. So let me show you this month. So here's this month. By the way, I'm using a really, really cute kit from the Coffee Monsters Co. I love her kits for the Hobonichi. They're just super cute, and I think they go well with some of my stickers too, so it all kind of blends together. But you get the whole month view, and then I also have all of this space on the left, again, for all of the to-dos that we have to do this month, which is a little bit overwhelming because, again, the baby's due in June, so there is a ton that we have to do. And like I was saying before, not only do you get the monthly view, but you also get the daily view. So here's what the daily pages look like. I don't want to show, I think, any of my journals because there's a lot of personal stuff in there, but I did journal daily for a while until that got to be a little bit too much because we were going through something. Again, I just needed to kind of focus on what was happening and I didn't unfortunately get time to like reflect on it. So this is what they look like. This is March 19th, March 20th. So you have some hours here, and then you have kind of a blank thing. I would just kind of write over that. I wouldn't really pay attention to the numbers. I think this was really great for journaling, and I really like that I kept it all in one book versus having like a separate journal for my planner. And one other thing I wanted to show you that I forgot to tell you about, like I was talking about the paper, you can probably tell that it goes through a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera actually. It's a lot easier to see it in real life, but you can kind of see, you can see the ghosting here. Oh, you can see it a lot here because I didn't write anything over it. And you can also feel the actual raised pen marks. And I know it would bother so many people, but I absolutely love it. I love it when the pages feel full to me. I don't know how to explain it. So like these pages right here, I can feel all of the pen marks. They feel used, which I don't know how to explain that feeling, but it feels really nice. And the great thing about this is that they are definitely thin papers, but they're not going to rip. Like, I mean, I've used this so much, flips back and forth, and they're not going to rip from the actual binding. Or when you're like flipping back and forth, that's not going to happen. And if any of you have any questions on the Hobonichi, anything about the paper, anything about what I used to write on it, any other questions, just go ahead and leave me a comment below and I'll make sure to answer. But again, it has been working out for me really, really well for the last few months. And by the way, if you hear kind of a background noise, it could be my printer because there's a few orders that I have to fill. So I have quite a bit of printing to do. So that was just a review of all of the different types of planners that I've used. Again, so many different kinds just based on how my life has changed. And one thing that I really kind of learned through this process and you know, going through this pregnancy and some of the difficult parts on it and just in general life is that you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace and do what you can. I mean, there were, like I said, there were days when I just couldn't do anything. I would come home, just sleep for the rest of the night. My husband would help do a lot of different things. He's been absolutely amazing. And there were days when I was really highly productive like I used to be. And it was a really hard transition going from, you know, how I planned before, everything that I've been able to do in a day, to going to not being able to do anything or doing the bare minimum. So all of these planners have definitely helped me through this process. And so what is next? Well, I'm still in my Hobonichi actually. So this one goes to January to June. And so my plan is to continue to use it through May. And then in June, once the baby comes, he's due actually on June 15th. So kind of in the middle of the month. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to be feeling when I'm 39 weeks pregnant. So I really have kind of no plans of a planner to use. I would love to get some more stuff done at home, kind of organize more things, but I don't know if I'm just going to be laying down all day. So we'll see. So I'm not really kind of planning on using any particular planner. Maybe I'll just use my to-do list or any of the millions of notepads that I have. By the way, I really love this one. This is supposed to be a daily notepad. This one I also like to use for like projects. I used it when we were organizing my office. And so this really helped me kind of just plan that out. But I have a million different notepads that I could use for those last few weeks. So I'm sure I'll find something that works for me right before we meet our little boy. And after he's here, I really have no idea what's going to happen. Like I said, this is our first. So I've heard that the first few weeks are just kind of a blur of exhaustion and just happiness, and I'm really, really excited. So I'm not sure what our schedule is going to look like. My husband thankfully has a month of paternity leave, which is absolutely amazing. But one thing that I do know is that I definitely want to have some sort of, not necessarily schedule that's super rigid, because I know that's probably not going to stay the same, but something where I can write down what we do have to do those days. I feel just so much better when we write things down that we have to get done, and I know that that's going to continue even when things are a little bit chaotic. So I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like. That's still going to be around June. So I might use the Hobonichi, I might just use my notepads, I might go back to the monthly. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I do have still, what does this one go to? This one goes to August actually, this monthly, or I do have the daily agenda too if I want to start planning daily again. But I did actually get a new EC planner for the rest of the year, so July to next year, in anticipation for what I think I will need. So I will talk more about that and what EC planner I chose and all of the wonderful accessories that came out. Super, super exciting. I'll talk about that when I get that order, and actually haven't gotten it yet. So I'll make sure to do a video, just show you everything I got and kind of talk about what I expect, you know, the rest of the year to look like. I actually have maternity leave as well, so I won't be going back to teaching for a little bit. So I'll talk talk a little bit more about that in that other video and just kind of what I anticipate my planning needs to be. But I think I'm pretty good for right now until the baby comes. And speaking of when the baby comes, I do plan on taking a maternity leave for, you know, all social media and my sticker shop as well. So I'll put all of the information on the screen and then also in the description if you want to know when that sale starts, when I'll be closing my shop until I feel ready to kind of start it up again. Again, as a first-time mom, I have absolutely no idea what to expect. I don't know what work is going to be like when I go back to teaching and having a child, so I can't really anticipate right now exactly when I'll open the shop back up. But my goal is definitely to open it at some point because I love it. I love running it. I love drawing. I love designing. I have so many different ideas of what I want to do, and so I hope that throughout this maternity leave I can think of those ideas and draw some more in my limited free time probably, but I do want to continue it. So my plan is definitely to reopen. So that sale will be going on soon if it's not already happening when this video posts. And then lastly, one really exciting thing that's going to happen in the next few weeks is the new teacher planner launch. So if you've been following me for a little while, if you've seen any of my other videos, I do have the Erin Condren teacher planner and I've used it for, I don't even remember, maybe 5 or 6 years. I have been picked to kind of preview those items a little bit early, so I'll be sharing some more information with you all on May 10th. I'll show you some of the products that I received and show you what it looks like, show you all the fun accessories. There's so many beautiful options, so I can't wait to share that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling, especially because my neighbor just decided to mow their lawn, I think, and it's getting a little loud. So I'm really happy to be back. Again, I have a couple videos coming out that are really exciting. If you wanna check those out, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely look out for that sticker shop sale before I close the shop for a little while. All right, bye everyone.